Welcome to this next tutorial in Scratch. Now in this lesson I'll show you how to make an animated fire sprite. It doesn't have to be fire, it can be something else completely. This is just a little animation I've set up so it will appear for a second or so and then disappear, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to make moving platforms and also an effective way of making movement so that your character can move forward and back and jump at the same time, and also land on platforms and also make sounds, as you can see. Hope that didn't shock you too much. There we go, just do it again for fun. So here we go. Let's see how we do all of that. So the first block I've got here, this is a useful one for creating artificial gravity. Now if we just break this apart for a second, you can see how this all works. So I've started off with the when flag clicked. I've then found myself a forever if, and they're all in the orange tab. I've got myself a not. Now a not basically means if something's not happening, do something. So in this case I found it here, it's not. And first thing we do is drag it in and drop it into the forever if. Now the next thing we're going to do is forever if our sprite is not touching the colour green, we're going to change y by -10. So basically what that will do, it will mean that as long as our cat is not touching something this shade of green, he will fall down from the sky, just like you would in real life with gravity. So this creates our artificial gravity. Now these next three blocks I've got here are all doing quite a similar thing. Again, I've got the green flag, I've got the forever if, and I've got this time a change X. So we pop on the forever if, we put the key right arrow pressed. Now that comes from the light blue section. There you go, you can see it there. And you can change the key just by clicking the arrow, and you can choose most of the keyboard keys. And finally I've got change X by 10. Now X by 10, positive X goes to the right, negative X goes to the left. So as it's positive, when I press the right arrow key, our little cat goes to the right. Now these two are basically almost identical, except I've got the left arrow and X by -10, and minus is backwards. So that makes our cat go left and right on the screen. Now finally I've got when flag clicked, forever if the space key is pressed, this time change Y by 20. I've set it to 20 rather than 10 because I've got the gravity pulling him down the screen by 10 and I want him to be able to jump, so I've made this a slightly larger figure. Now what I've done for the moving platforms is our next step. I've made them the same colour as the ground, and this just makes it easier because basically we've already said with our cat sprite, if he's not touching the colour green, change Y by -10, so make him full. So literally just by making these the same colour, it means our cat can actually land on these. If I can actually get on one of them. Whee! There we go. And you can actually walk on them, because once the cat touches it, it won't stop, it won't fall down the screen anymore, because we're not changing the Y value. Now to get them to move, this is quite simple. We just use a green flag, a forever loop, and we find these glide operators, which is in the motion blocks here, glide. And all I've done here is I've decided on an X position to start it. So if I just stop the game for a second, here we go. So if I put my sprite here, I can find the X position up here, look. So in this position it's at 61, and in this position the X position would be, if I hover over here, we can see there, looking at here, X position is 170. Back over here the X position is, for example, 6. So I can set the X position to move, in this case I've got between 198 and -13, so that is controlling the movement left to right on the screen. And I've kept the Y values the same. Now Y values is up and down. So by keeping them the same, it just means it stays gliding between the two X values but doesn't move up and down. Now if I wanted to, I could set these two X values the same and then make one of these bigger than the other, and then the platform would move just up and down the screen. So that's how that little block works. That gives us these nice moving platforms, which we can then have our cat jump onto and bounce off, which is brilliant. Now the final part of this tutorial is the fire sprite. Now I've literally just found a picture of fire from Google Images and I've downloaded it. Now what I'm doing here with it, I'm saying when the green flag is clicked, show. Then I've got forever, that's just a little forever loop which you can find here. Forever, show the sprite, wait for 2 seconds, then hide it, wait for 2 seconds, and then it comes back up to the top of the loop, shows, hides, shows and hides, and that just repeats, and that gives it the nice effect of it just popping out of this little mini volcano every few seconds. Works nicely. So that'll deal with the animation. Now the final bit, we want something to happen if our cat walks into the fire by accident, because fire's obviously hot and it would get burnt. So what I've got here is dealing with that. Again, I've got on my cat sprite, when the green flag is clicked, forever if touching sprite 2. So as you can see, the fire is sprite 2, and that's just made up of 2 blocks. It's the forever if, which we've just got over here, and the light blue block, which is under sensing, and then we've got there touching, and we can use the arrow in that block to choose whichever sprite we want. In our case it's sprite 2, because that's the fire. Now one of you asked me for how to include sound, so I've got a play sound here. Now the way we find that is we click on sounds, and you can either import a sound from our sound library. We've got human ones, we've got animal effects, instruments and so on. But if we want to record our own, as I've done in this case, you can literally click on record, and as long as you've got a microphone you can record your own sound, which is what I've done in this case. Once you've recorded or imported a sound, you can then use it, and to use it you can see it's this sort of pinky colour. We go to the colour pink, and look, we've got play sound, or I can use the arrow button to choose one of the others, or I can even record one again. And I've literally just got that, dropped it in there, and finally I'm saying ouch as well, which is in the looks column, and there we have say ouch, or in this case say ouch for 2 seconds. You can just click in there and edit it and write whatever you want. So when we actually play the game, what will happen is if I get in the way of the fire, the ouch sound will play and the cat will say ouch as well. So if you want to, it'd be quite a nice little project to use what I've taught you in this tutorial and the previous tutorial, put them together, and you can basically make a really nice little game where you've got multiple screens, you can have animations that you can avoid, and also moving platforms to perhaps jump up the screen to a higher level. Okay, have fun. See you next time. Bye bye.